Well, some news here as the Browns clean out their lockers the day after a 35-10 loss to the Ravens, finishing their season 3-14. And the first move they make, Mary Kay, they fire offensive line coach Andy Dickerson, but more importantly, offensive coordinator Ken Dorsey. They are going in a new direction with this offense. So Kevin Stefanski, I think, making a very clear statement today about what he wants to do offensively.
Yes, one and done for Ken Dorsey, the former quarterback of the Cleveland Browns, as offensive coordinator, but you could kind of see that it was trending in this direction. They finished last in points scored. They finished first with most turnovers, most giveaways in the NFL. It just wasn't going right. And I think that what they really need to do now is, I believe they need to have alignment between among their head coach, their play caller, and their quarterback. This year, they were caught between two worlds, two different kinds of styles of offense, and they need to bring everything together. But I think it might be a little challenging to figure out exactly how they want to do this until they know what kind of quarterback they're going to have.
Yeah, now, Ashley, we talked to Joel Bitonio, we talked to Jack Conklin today, and no surprise that both of them were kind of pushing to go back to that play-action heavy, kind of running the football, the old-style Kevin Stefanski offense, if you can call that. He's only been here 5 years, but that old-style Kevin Stefanski offense, so no surprise there. But Kevin, he didn't really want to get too much into identity, but it was very clear that that was on the minds of some Browns players today.
Yeah, I think we all tried to ask him some version of that question in different ways, but when we talked to Joel Bitonio and Jack Conklin, they both said they would be all for going back to more of that play action, wide zone style scheme. And I thought it was interesting because Joel Bitonio throughout his career has been one of the best pulling guards in the NFL. He said he thinks he only pulled about 10 times this year. And in the previous offense, there would be singular games when he pulled 10 times in that lone game. So definitely think there is some interesting work here to be done because they overhauled a lot of this offense this past year to try and fit Deshaun Watson's style, more of that RPO game, and it just didn't work. So like Mary Kay said, I think it was a move that just wasn't surprising. The writing was on the wall.
Now, the search is starting already, Kevin Stefanski said, and Mary Kay, it's a little too early to attach specific names to it, but it was interesting. Kevin did leave the door open for internal candidates. Of course, they'll look outside, but this thing is going to start right away, and it's probably going to move pretty quickly.
Yeah, I think it will because there are a lot of head coach vacancies, and they need to grab one of the best coordinators while they can. He said the one thing that he can actually say specifically about what he wants is someone that's going to come in and help them run an explosive offense. It certainly wasn't that this season. So once again, 15 points per game is never going to cut it. And they had a total of 19 touchdown passes, which I figured out today is half of what Baker Mayfield had in Tampa Bay, less than half. So they really need to get someone in here who's really going to rev up this whole entire offense. And I am throwing out a few names, actually. I've mentioned Clint Kubiak, who is the Saints offensive coordinator and a close ally colleague of Kevin Stefanski's. And then Josh McCown, former Browns quarterback, another former Browns quarterback, who helped Sam Darnold become an amazing quarterback in Minnesota this year. Those are some names to watch, I think.
Yeah, and of course, as I mentioned, Ashley, there will probably be some internal interviews. I mean, I'm assuming Kevin is going to cast a pretty wide net here in the search, even though it will move quickly.
Yeah, and that's basically what he said today. One of those names internally, in theory, could be a guy like Tommy Rees, who we know just interviewed for that UNC head coaching job before Bill Belichick got it. Obviously, a guy who has a lot of familiarity with those college offenses. So that's one name internally, I think, that is a really interesting guy to see if he gets the job here or if another team tries to poach him away even.
Now, that offensive coordinator is going to have some sort of new toy to play with in the draft, most likely. The Browns sitting at the number 2 pick after things kind of fell a certain way. The Titans losing, the Patriots winning. That moved the Browns up to number 2, the Titans up to number 1. The Patriots actually fell all the way to number 4. We don't care about the Patriots, though. Mary Kay, the Browns are going to have a choice of potentially a quarterback, either Cam Ward or Shedeur Sanders, maybe Travis Hunter. Of course, he could play on either side of the football, but their options are in front of them. And of course, we never rule out the possibility of them trading down. But look, if you're going to go 3-14, you might as well make it count. They're going to end up with a pretty good draft pick.
They definitely will end up with a pretty good draft pick if they stay there and they pick there. But we know that this team is about analytics and acquiring quality picks, so I'm sure that they will strongly consider moving back out of that number 2 spot. They will also consider some of the top quarterbacks in the draft, Cam Ward, Shedeur Sanders, and some of the rest. The quarterbacks that some people think are the top 2 might not be who the Browns think are the top 2. So lots to go over the next few months. It's going to be very interesting.
Yeah, and Ashley, I don't think you've gotten to really live through a high draft pick like this, so buckle up. It's going to be a crazy, believe it or not, it's all the way till April. It gets very long. It's a crazy 3 months here until the Browns go on the clock.
I haven't had to live through it yet. My first draft was the 2022 draft, which is when, of course, they traded away their first-round picks for the next 3 years. So that's all I've really known of this front office. But the Andrew Berry quote I've been thinking about a lot today is what he said at the Combine last year when he got asked about trading picks and trying to, move and wheel and deal. And he said that those draft picks sometimes feel like money burning a hole in his pocket. So I'm very curious to see if we do see them move. But I think what's good about this positioning is you have leverage either way. Like Mary Kay said, there's going to be a good player available for you there, or you have some leverage to move if you really want.
All right, so the Browns, we're not going to have to wait long for them to go on the clock. They'll have a new offensive coordinator helping with that decision. And, of course, Kevin Stefanski and Andrew Berry will still be here to make that decision on draft day. We'll have full coverage of everything that happened here on Locker Cleanout Day at cleveland.com/Browns.